Is anybody waiting?
Yep.
We got any questions all queued up? I've got some questions that came in before.
Yeah, let's just do it normally and see how it goes.
All right. Hey, everybody, this is Matt, and we're at Texas Toast Guitars. Thanks for watching our weekly live question and answer podcast, the only live question and answer guitar-related podcast with actual guitar builders. Yeah, not that that's
Professional guitar builders.
Yeah, that's right. People who
Yeah.
do it for a living. That'd be Chris
Correct.
and myself.
Yep. Well,
so-
this and the paper route.
What is the difference, Chris, between the way, like watching us because we, do this for money versus listening to someone who does it for fun? You can get a lot of great information from someone who does it for fun.
Yeah.
And we urge you to seek them out.
I think we have a little bit more broad knowledge.
Maybe more pragmatic too.
Yeah.
There's a lot of I guess what I'm driving at is last week we had some people that wanted to disagree with us about some stuff. Fine. We don't care. So if you disagree with us, start your own YouTube channel and we'll watch. So anyway. So this week, of course, we are sponsored by our good friends at Aquacoat. If you Aquacoat, we actually used some Aquacoat this week because we did a bunch of finished work this week. There's I don't even know how many guitars are in the booth right now, but it's more than 10.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
Anyway, and the Aquacoat absolutely will save you time on sealer. We use the high performance grain filler. Don asked me a question. He said, what's the difference between this stuff and the other stuff that he can get in Canada versus the stuff that he can't get in Canada? And I said, I'm not 100% sure. Call the people at Aquacoat. They're super cool. They'll talk to you about it. And what Don said to me was it's just the amount of solids. Because you know how he knew? He called the people at Aquacoat, and he actually got to talk to them. So, yeah. So if you have any questions about Aquacoat, that we can help you with, we'd be more than happy to. If not, check out Aquacoat. Just do a Google search for Aquacoat. And the cool thing is if you type in Texas Toast 10 at checkout, you get money back, money off, and save yourself a little bit of cash. What is your new go-to way of applying this, Chris?
I used a white Scotch-Brite pad this week.
And smeared it in.
Yeah. And that seemed to work pretty well. And I did it really, really fast because I wanted to see what kind of results I could get doing it really, really fast.
And that was on ash.
So
super open grain.
Yeah.
Very, very likely to soak up the sealer. And so Chris used the white Scotch-Brite pad to apply it as the applicator, and it worked great.
Yeah, wiped on. It was easier than using a rag, which I had done a little bit. And it's like wiping.
The last time I did it,
car.
I used a rag, and I'm like, this is better than using my fingers and smearing it all over it and sanding it off.
Yeah, I did that too. Yeah, but this, so I take some, I grab some with my fingers, stick it on the thing, and then rub it in. And what I should have done, and this is what I'm going to do next time, is do that twice. I'll let the first coat set up for 30 or 45 minutes, and then I'll do it again.
We are going to have a live Q&A with the owners of Aquacoat coming very, very soon as we figure out how to. But anyway, thank you to Aquacoat. I'd also like to thank the good people at Flipside Music, the great American guitar store. Go down there and check them out if you're in the Denver area. If not, they're open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on their website. Check out Flipside Music and tell them the good guys at Texas Toast sent you, and Chris too. Also, we want to thank our friends at Guitarwood Experts. We just got an order from Guitarwood Experts for class guitars.
Herniated the UPS man 2 days in a row.
We buy a lot of just like school lumber from Guitarwood Experts.
Yeah.
Like this is a neck blank that we get from Dan. And this is like what your student guitar will be made from. It's just a regular old piece of 5/4 maple, but it's really nice. Then he sent some other neat things. These are pre-radiused fretboards. This one's a 14 and this one's a 16. I think he's got some of these. Guys, if you want some pre-radiused boards, give Dan a call at Guitarwood Experts and tell him that you want some of this stuff. And I know for a fact he will make you a good deal. because he's Dan, and that's what he does. You know who else will make you a good deal, Chris? This is like one of those cheesy old radio shows.
No.
John and Cheryl at Bitterroot Guitars, our other sponsor. Bitterroot Guitars for all of your truss rods and bridges and little teeny tiny pieces that you need to put guitars together. Think Bitterroot Guitars. They will help you out. And if you type in TXTOAST at checkout, you'll get money off your order, and that is always a very cool thing. So thank you to all of our sponsors who help make the Q&A a very cool thing. So are we ready to dive in?
Yes.
Okay.
I'd like to remind everybody, if you have a question, please put several question marks in front of your question. That helps me kind of weed out the questions from the
because you guys have
other
your own little things going on, which is cool in the side. So yeah.
Yeah, and I can't get caught up with that stuff. It's I need to focus on just questions.
Well, what happens is, we get bogged down. So.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about Tom L's question today online regarding tellies and templates and what they call the router hump.
So our friend Tom L sent in, he's like, hey, what's the big idea with this little flat part right here on my Telecaster template? Is it wrong? And so Tom, no, that's not wrong. As you can see, it's in my template too. Of course, that doesn't make it right. I guess what I'm trying to say is your template isn't the one that has it and everybody else doesn't have it. Mine has it too. And there are a lot of theories.
There are a lot of theories
on what this is and why it's there.
And once you know what it is and why it's there, it makes total sense.
Yeah.
So a lot of people, they call it the router hump. And a lot of people assumed that back in the 50s when they first started making these bodies, there's no way they could have gotten the tool to go around this smoothly, even though they got it to go around this
somehow.
Smoothly, and that they needed this to somehow make the tool go through this transition. And this router hump showed up on the prototype guitars, and it also showed up on the very first guitars.
Okay.
And sometime in the late 60s, once they went to more computer driven machines and not pin routers and such, this went away.
Well, but they wouldn't have gone to pin routers until
what I meant was what do you mean? It wouldn't have gone to pin routers?
They wouldn't have gone away from pin routers until much later.
Maybe it was in the 70s.
I think it would be even later than but
they had they started having some other stuff.
There's some automation. Okay.
Yeah, other automation. But anyway, do you want me to tell you what it is?
Sorry, yeah.
No, I mean, do you? Are we ready to go there?
Yeah.
Okay. So this has nothing to do with the tooling. It has everything to do with what the neck pocket does on the front. And if you take a look at a telly, if you don't have that router hump, this little area right in here gets really, really thin. And rather than have a bunch of blowout and tear out or cracks and breaks, here they came up with that little bump that makes that part fatter. And that's why it's there.
There you go. So you can grind that away on your spindle sander, or you can leave it be.
Yep.
We actually leave this on here on all of our daily drivers until we get the necks on. Then we grind a bunch of this meat away so that the neck is in line with the heel and everything is nice. And
that was the other thing about the original telly was the body overhung the neck because the neck is kind of like this, and the neck pocket on the originals were straight.
Nice and square.
Square.
Yeah.
So anyway, there you go. So there you go, Tom.
So there you go. Yeah, and but there's nothing wrong. Do not attempt to adjust your template. Well, I mean, you adjust your template, but do not worry. Your template is fine.
Yeah. Yep. If you want to make a vintage correct one, leave the hump.
I think guitartemplates.com, guitarbuildingtemplates.com, which is where this one came from. He has a lot of different flavors, and I'm sure you can get one with this and without this. So
yeah. Yep. You ready?
Ready.
So Dom D, and I don't know if he's still here or not, wants to know the part number or the vendor for that steel neck heel threaded insert that you used in a past video.
Okay,
he's talking about the wheel, the spoke.
Oh, that thing. That's just from Stu Mac. That's just a spoke wheel truss rod adjuster from Stuart McDonald. If you go onto the Stu Mac website and type in spoke wheel, I'm sure it'll come right up. Okay. They're like $7.
He also had another question about how we mix, what are the proportions of dye to solvent for the two-tone sunbursts and vintage amber and tobacco browns that we do.
You know, a lot of people think there's a specific recipe for amount of dye to amount of solvent, whether you're using water or alcohol or something like that. Or I guess,
Or even paint.
yeah, if you're using paint,
Yeah.
that's not a solvent. You're just tinting
Right.
the paint.
Uh-huh.
So what do you do?
We used to do it very, very carefully, 2 or 3 drops at a time, and we ultimately decided that it wasn't worth wasting time, and we just squirt a whole bunch in there and stir it up, and then look at we use popsicle sticks, and we look at the stick, and it always takes more dye than you think it's going to take.
Yeah.
And we were talking about this question a few minutes ago.
We actually were, yeah. We're
Yeah.
not, yeah.
And because it came in before the show started, and we're of the opinion that those colors are only going to get so dark. You can't make vintage amber look brown.
No, you can't. Yeah, you can't add so much yellow that it changes from yellow. It just stops.
Right.
Yeah.
So as the individual colors, you almost can't put too much in. You can put too much in, but it's not going to get so dark that you hate it.
Yeah. But you can absolutely put too little in to where it looks right in the cup,
Yeah.
and then you spray it, and it doesn't look like you
Doesn't
did
look like you
anything.
anything. Yeah. And the other thing too is different colors look different on different colors of wood. Even maple can look different each time you do it.
Yeah.
So
I know, like, yeah, I'm with you. I hose that stuff into
so
water or paint
yeah,
or whatever.
and it takes more in water than it does in paint.
Yeah.
I think because paint is thicker than water when you
Okay.
spray it on. But it's a fair amount, and I always think about the color that I want, and when I stir it up and I look at it on the stick, if it looks darker than the color I want, then it's right.
Then it's right. You know, Jeff, who's the owner over there at Transtint, which is, by the way, the name of the dye company that we use, Transtint, and that's the same stuff that you can buy online, Transtint, or if you go to Stuart McDonald, their brand is made by Jeff. And the cool thing about the Stu Mac stuff is they've got custom colors. So like specific to, brands, this is the color that I want for this, that, or the other, rather than buying yellow and green and blue and making your own.
Mm-hmm.
That SG, you custom mix that.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks terrific. So.
Yeah, well, I'm getting better at it.
Yeah, but as far as translucent colors, that's a custom mix every time.
Mm-hmm. Which I think is actually kind of cool.
I think so too.
And that's one of the reasons that I haven't tried to come up with a formula for any of that stuff, and I don't think that would work anyway. But I like each time, and the other funny thing is, no matter how hard I try to make something slightly different, they usually come out about the same. Vintage amber looks like vintage amber every time we spray it.
Unless you don't have enough, then it sort of just looks like this weird.
Then it looks
jaundice.
just like
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah. All
But
right.
good stuff though. I like the trans tint colors quite a bit.
Yeah. Michael French wants to know, hey
Michael.
guys, what is your thought process for pickup selection when you build a guitar?
There are a couple schools of thought for this. If you were to say, hey Matt, I want to know your favorite pickup for Telecaster or for a humbucker, like pickup, I can tell you that pickup. I can absolutely tell you what that is. But it might not be what you think is the cool thing. So if I'm making a guitar for me and I know it's getting a single coil Telecaster pickup, I know that I'm going to use the the Seymour Duncan quarter pounder bridge pickup. And I know that if I'm building a humbucker guitar for me, it's going to have the DiMarzio Super Distortion in the bridge. And you know what I mean? And probably the PAF in the neck, mostly because I'll never use that neck pickup. I just like the Super Distortion in the bridge. And I like the quarter pounder Seymour Duncan for a Telecaster. If you're to say, hey, I'm building a Strat, what should I use? I like EMGs for Strats. Now, so that's 3 very, very different pickups from 3 separate companies. And I'm probably the only person in the world who likes those 3 things. So as a guitar builder, if I know that you're going to immediately change them out, do I really need to spend that kind of money to for a pickup that's going to go away right away. On the other hand, I can't put the cheapest hunks of garbage in there that I possibly can, because then people go, well, your guitars are cheap hunks of garbage. So there's a balancing act there, very fine line.
Yeah, because boutique pickups drive cost up a lot.
Yeah,
it really does, and you're not 9 times out of 10 you're not going to pick the right pickup.
We have some boutique winders, guys who we really love. Dylan from Dylan Talks Tone, Jerry Centel, Bootstrap Pickups. A lot of those guys who make great stuff, and we'll work with. Yeah. Generally, the thing to do. Oh, go ahead.
And those guys are a little bit more reasonably priced than some of the big names.
Yeah.
In the boutique.
You could easily spend $150 to $200 a pickup.
Yeah.
For boutique quality stuff.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, well, it's got $400 worth of bare knuckle pickups in it. Well, I don't like those.
Yeah.
So what do you do? I mean, not everybody likes Novaks as much as they like Lawlers, as much as they like Fralins, as much as they like
well,
whatever.
Each of those guys even have a different different exact same pickups. They all make different humbuckers, and they don't. Yeah. So even if you get the right brand, you're not necessarily going to get the right one.
Don't forget Coney Island Guitars pickups. That guy made us some really nice stuff. And I guys, if I forget to mention you, it's not because I don't like you. It's because I'm old and stupid. But so the best, if you're asking, hey, what should I do because I want to start building guitars and I need to know what people are going to like, the only way to know is to say, what pickups do you want in this guitar? So people send me emails all the time. Hey, how much is this? And I go, well, our guitars start at $2,500. Well, what can drive the price? Hardware and pickups.
Yeah.
Because if I tell you a guitar is, let's say X dollars, and I'm assuming that's with, whatever pickups I have.
Our house brand pickup.
Yeah. And then you go, cool, I want this with, with $500 extra worth of stuff. Then I have to go, well, it's going to be more because, see, you said, So we actually do have our house brand of pickups, which is called Pure Juice. And we've had a handful of different people make those for us. We change who that is from time to time.
Yep.
But, Pure Juice, you know where Pure Juice comes from, Chris?
I do, but you can tell the story.
So back in the 70s, if you were a skateboard kid in the 70s and you had a set of Sims Pure Juice wheels, you were the shit. And especially if you had a beefsteak board for it to go on. So, yeah. But that was in in 77, 78.
Yeah.
So, Sims Pure Juice. And we stole the name because I love the name so much.
They got the moist tone.
They got the moist tone. Yep, and they do.
We no longer use that slogan.
No, we don't. Well, you know why we don't though? I just forgot.
Yeah.
So
well,
Pure Juice.
All right, Mercury Man wants to know, when re-radiusing a fretboard, is it easier to go from a larger to smaller radius, or from a smaller to larger radius? Also, does fretboard radius factor into overall neck thickness?
Okay. If you had a 12-inch radius and you were redoing it, it would be easier to put a smaller radius on there because it would take off a little more.
Yes.
So if you went
it's easier to see.
Yeah. So if you went from 12 to 10, or 12 to 9.5, it would take more off the edges. Is it easier to do? I don't know that it's 6 to 1, half dozen of the other. You can mark the board and make it be. The nice thing about not changing the fretboard radius is you don't have to do as much work.
Yes.
If you do it correctly.
Correct.
Does fretboard radius affect the thickness of the guitar?
Factor into overall neck thickness.
Yes and no. Overall neck thickness, of course, is the biggest thing. If you had a neck thickness of that, everything was square and it was 1 inch thick, and you put a radius on it of 12, and you took little teeny tiny bit off the top of the 12-inch radius, and you were 999 thick, you wouldn't be any less thick if you did the exact same thing with a 7 1/4 radius. You'd still be 999 thick at the thickest part. However, at the thinnest part, you'll be less with the smaller radius. Does that make sense? Did I say that right?
Yes.
Okay. So it is possible that you would feel a difference, but I doubt it. I really, really doubt it. You know, we did a video once where we tested how much actual variation there was between a 10-inch radius and a 16-inch radius at the widest part of the neck, 2 1/8, 2 1/4, whatever it was, and the difference was 11 thousandths. So 3 human hairs thick. If you can feel that, then yeah, then more power to
You
you.
can probably also read Braille.
Yeah, probably.
Yep.
Did we get a super chat? It looked like there was one
We
coming.
did.
Oh wow.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Okay.
Dave Weiss wants to know,
Hey,
did you
Dave.
ever consider building guitars with strap locks included? I'm a fan of flush mounting Dunlops and want to make them standard on my builds.
Well, I think that's a great idea to do. You know, this is a tricky part of the guitar, really any industrial manufacturing thing. If you can save, because people don't get this. They're like, well, why doesn't Gibson just put those, you know, those capacitors, those great big orange drop capacitors like I like in every guitar? They're only $5 extra. You know, or they're only whatever. And if Gibson bought a bunch of them, they'd be even less. Well, the fact of the matter is that if you're making one guitar, $5 extra is not that big of a deal. But if you're making 100 guitars, $5 extra suddenly becomes $500. If you're making 1,000 guitars, then you see where this math angle goes. And if you're a company like Gibson, you're selling Les Pauls for whatever they're selling them for. Let's say $2,000. It's more than that, but let's say $2,000. And if you can save $5 on every guitar, then you make an extra $5 for every guitar that you sell. You know, and if you can save $50 or $500 on every guitar and you don't change the price of the guitar, then that's like free money. You know. Now, does it make it right? No. Does it make it, you know, business? Yes. So, and strap locks are another one of those things where there's a couple different flavors, and I don't like really any of them. I like to put those little twisty Dunlop twisty things over my strap.
Like the Grolsch looking things?
Yeah. The other ones, like the Dunlop other ones, they stick out too far.
Yeah.
And the shallower ones, I don't know why I don't like those.
They're slidey, and I don't like having anything clunky and metal close to my guitar when I take the strap off or I do something like that. But that's just me.
Yeah, so it's all personal preference, and no matter what, you will put the wrong thing on someone's guitar if you assume they want something specialized, generally speaking.
Yeah.
So I hesitate to do that. Have I ever considered putting strap locks on as standard? No. And do I think that putting recessed strap locks on a guitar standard is a good idea? Definitely not. And the reason is not because I don't think they're cool, because I think those are really cool. Those recessed sunken in cups. I think that's the cleanest look. The problem is if you show up to a gig and you go, crap, I don't have my strap that has the strap lock things on it. Can I borrow? Oh, it doesn't matter, because now I can't put the strap on because it has these recessed flush things. So, and then you don't want to be the guy who goes, curse you, whatever your name is, who built this guitar. If you would have just done it no matter what, you'll do something wrong. You know, it won't be somebody else's fault. It'll be your fault, no matter what it is. So.
And it's amazing how many people only have one strap for all their guitars. And it's also amazing that strap is usually a cheap piece of crap.
But you know how like gig stuff is? It's crazy sometimes.
Yeah.
I mean, I've driven to the gig and had like, oh man, I can't believe I forgot that thing that I ought to have in my kit. Yeah, like, you know, those like little computer plug-in things for your amp and things that, like, they're basically computer cords. Fortunately, there's bars have lots of those because everybody forgets them there.
Yeah.
But I've shown up to gigs countless times and not had mine. Son of a
Yep.
So.
All right, ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. Sorry.
Can I shim a neck only on the bass side? This is from Ole Hansen.
Yeah, you probably
You
can.
can, like if you were using washers,
Yeah.
if you have to do that, there's probably something else wrong. And there's also other adjustments, usually on a guitar at the bridge, that would
Yeah.
stop you from that being the only fix.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say yeah, you can, but if you
It's gonna
I would want to know
it's gonna
why you need
cock
to.
the neck in sideways too. A
Yeah,
little
that's
bit.
yeah.
So maybe on some guitars you could.
Yeah.
If it's got a really tight neck pocket, maybe a little tiny bit.
That question lacks perspective. I
Yeah.
need more. So
Yeah.
yes, you can, but I want to know why you need to.
Yep.
And if the answer is what I think the answer might be, you're not going to like what I say.
Yes. We have lots of questions about aqua coat.
Okay.
One, have we tried using it tinted yet?
Yeah, we have experimented a little bit with it,
Yep.
and it was not our favorite thing.
No, I liked the darker colors better.
Yeah.
Like I liked putting some black in it.
Yeah.
That was good. We tried red and we tried aqua, and those were not as good on ash.
So and this is one of those things where just because we don't like
Yeah.
the results that we got with our sample size of one
Yeah.
doesn't mean that you won't like it. So give it a test and see what you think.
Yep.
You guys, you got to remember that sometimes what happens when we're testing stuff, it's not like we put on our lab coats at 10 o'clock in the morning and go, all right, now we're going to test it. No, it's usually 5:30. We were 2 or 3 beers in, and we grab a hunk of scrap junk out of the scrap bin and slather a bunch of stuff on. And if it doesn't work immediately, then we go, oh, we don't like it.
Yeah.
And to be revisited later. But that's exactly what happened when we tried it. So
Yep.
did we try it? Yes.
Yep.
Did we like it? Not really. Did we do a very good job? Probably not.
No.
I think it deserves another round of testing in a better.
Possibly. Yeah.
Yeah. So far, what we really like the aqua coat for though is pore filler, and it takes dye very well.
It does. Yeah. Yeah.
That was a gotcha question. People wanted to, aha,
Yeah.
got
And they also want to know why we're not using the squeegee to put it on.
Well, we tried the squeegee first, and it just seemed like it took longer to do on a
Yeah,
guitar.
I didn't necessarily like it. I didn't like the way that it worked on the sides and the edges. So
You
I
guys
thought
got to
I'll
remember
try
that,
some other
this
stuff.
is pore filler, not specific only for use with guitars.
Yeah.
So if you had like a door factory,
Mm-hmm.
well then maybe the squeegee would work awesome.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
but-
the other thing too is the product that we use after this does a really good job of filling voids and gaps.
Yeah.
So I'm not looking for this stuff to make everything dead flat
I see
and
that
perfect
product,
and smooth. I'm looking for this to stop the next product from soaking in at too fast of a rate.
So if you see here, like on this carved top, the squeegee would be just about impossible to use in this application. So finding some other different or an alternative way to apply it seemed like the best solution. The other cool thing is, and you guys have said to me that, thank you, Doug, that you've had some problems with the aqua coat hazing, and Chris's solution with the white Scotch Brite seemed like all that hazing went away.
Except for the deepest of end grain.
Yeah, and you think that if we sanded a little, I mean, it was like the very first time we
I
ever
don't think
tried aqua
sanding
coat, it
more
was like it
would
was loaded
necessarily
with haze.
help.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, you'd
Okay.
really have to grind it back.
Okay.
Yeah, but
But
so
it
I
was
think you got to
far
decide
different from-
yeah, we didn't have any on the top.
Yeah.
I think you need to figure out what your ultimate finish is going to be and what your edge treatment's going to be. Like
Yeah.
if you're doing sunbursts, then hazing on the end grain on the edge
Yeah, who
doesn't make
cares?
who cares.
Yeah.
But if you're looking to do a completely clear finish, it's probably not going to.
People
Not
ask
gonna
us
go.
that all the time. How do I get a absolutely positively clear finish? And
Yeah.
I'm like, well, I don't know. Why would you want that? Like who has that?
Yeah, we don't do.
I'm sure somebody does.
Yeah, how many completely natural guitars have we built? I can only think of one recently.
Recently?
We did a Strat body that was.
Did we?
Actually, I don't think so. I think it ended up being butterscotch as well.
Okay. Oh, I guess like what if
And
you were
we
doing
did
an
a class
acoustic?
guitar.
That would
Yeah,
be
yeah.
why.
Yeah, well.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, that's right. We
yeah.
did have a class. Yeah, so if you're doing an
Uh-huh.
acoustic, yeah, you're going to need to work that. But it's not unheard of, but not exactly common to make an acoustic guitar out of ash. And the end grain on an acoustic is that you see is like the end of the headstock.
Yeah.
There's very, very little end grain that you see on an acoustic guitar. So,
Uh-huh.
yeah. Anyway, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Ready?
Ready.
Steven Sobel wants to know,
Hey,
how was
Steve.
Doug's week with you? We should let Doug answer that question.
Yeah, Doug. How? Yeah, you still. Although you still. How much longer
Speak
are you
up.
here, Doug?
I'm here one more day tomorrow.
Okay. Well, we've got a humdinger planned for you.
Yep.
More of the same.
More of the same. More
Yeah.
sanding.
I don't. Well, yeah, that's pretty much guitar building in a.
In
you
a
know,
nutshell.
there's a little bit of machining, and a whole lot of sanding.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So we hope that Doug has had a good time. It's really been great to have Doug out here. He's been a force multiplier. That's what Doug is a force multiplier. It's not like Chris and I got one, third more stuff done. We got way more stuff done having Doug around than we would have, just
Yeah.
some schlub
So you're saying Doug did the work of two men?
or more. Yeah, I don't know. He's like John Henry.
Yeah, he was. Yep.
Cause they took Doug Cook to the graveyard and they buried him in the sand. And every locomotive that went rolling by, they said there lies a guitar sanding man.
Antone Lopes wants to know, will you make a guitar out of someone else's rough blanks?
It depends on who the someone else is. If it's Dan from Guitar Wood Experts, then yeah.
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 One of the problems with people sending us wood is their climate and our climate isn't necessarily compatible, and the wood can warp rather rapidly here at our very, very dry climate. We've had that happen several times. The other problem
The other problem is
people
this.
sometimes send you wood that's not good enough quality to build something with.
Yeah.
And I think we've shown this piece of wood off before
Yeah,
in
you
a
guys
video.
have seen this, and this is like, there's nothing good about this lumber. And the reason that I can't tell you where I got it is, well, there's a lot of reasons, but it's basically junk. And the reason I can't tell you, I can't tell you where I got it, and I can't get rid of it, but it is really one for the burn pile.
I may add, that looks a lot worse in person than it looks on the camera.
Yeah, it does. Yep, yep. Electric Sex Machine wants to know, if I was theoretically building a 10-string fretless 27.5 neck, would 2 carbon fiber rods be a substitute for a truss rod replacement, or do you recommend using a truss rod?
I would use those in addition to a regular truss rod.
Yes. Have you guys ever built a baritone guitar from Luke Jackson?
We built a couple baritone guitars.
Uh-huh.
We did a couple of matching baritone flying V's for some guys who have a band, and one guy was left-handed and one guy was right-handed, so they would point out or point in. They would either scissor or touch tips.
Touch tips.
And so those were some. We've done a number of different scale guitars besides your standard Gibson and Fender and Paul Reed Smith stuff. So yes, we have. And yes, it's fun. What's the subtext behind that? Have you done one? It seems like that's a question. Like, have you done one? Yeah, but is that the question that you really want answered?
I don't know.
Like, I'm trying to think. Like, and maybe he just wants to know. Hey, have you ever done that? Was it cool? Yeah, right on. But I wonder, like, were there any pitfalls associated with a baritone, Chris?
No, and we built guitars and we built basses, and the baritone's just right in the middle. It's not really any different than either one, and a bass really isn't that much different than a guitar.
I would say though that if you're building a baritone, really plan it out first. Like get a big piece of paper and draw everything out where it's going to go, so there's no surprises when you're done. Because the bridge is going to be in a different spot. So like let's say you're building a Strat. Well, and the neck pocket's the same, or it's different. You're going to need to decide. That means the bridge is going to have to go somewhere different. You're going to need to decide, and all that stuff is going to be slightly skewed for a baritone. So if the reason that you're asking, hey, have you ever done it, is because you want to know if we did one and that's it, yes. If the reason that you want to know is, have you ever done it? What are the things that I should look out for? That'd be what I would say. Like, yeah, kind of dig deep into what it is you're about to do. And so, like, okay, on a baritone telly, all of a sudden this is going to get scooched back, which is going to mean your pick guard has to look different now. And so don't be surprised when it's time to put it together. Do all your homework first. How about that? Okay.
Yep. Anton Lopes says, I need a guitar finished. He was the one that asked about sending stuff to us. That kind of brings up an interesting point about what we are doing in the future of that kind of project.
There was a time when where we could do more of that. Mm-hmm. And those days, unfortunately, are gone, because what happens is we've got a lot of custom builds right now that, people are waiting and they're like, hey, when's my guitar going to be done? Hey, when's my guitar going to be done? I get it all the time. When's my guitar going to be done? And if we have a bunch of repair and refinish and, hey, can you make me a neck for this kind of kooky thing, but I want it to be a different scale, and I want it to have a 0 fret, and I want it to have, be wood. I want it to be. Someone was asking me if I could make him a guitar body out of koa, and I'm like, yeah, but I don't have any koa, and I don't know where to get koa. So every time I spend an hour trying to source particular things for someone, or every hour that I spend fixing the headstock on a busted Les Paul, or every hour that Chris spends, painting your guitar or fixing your sound, your soundboard got bowed because the bridge. Every hour that we spend doing that is an hour that we can't spend on custom builds, and so we have kind of just stopped doing a lot of that stuff. Yeah. And it's unfortunate, but that's just the way it goes, because I don't want the custom builds to take as long as they've been taking, and the COVID deal really threw us in the lurch too, because sometimes parts are completely unavailable seemingly for months. So, like, for example, Hipshot is real easy to get some stuff from Hipshot and impossible to get other things from them. So, yeah. So no, we are not in the refinishing business any longer.
Or finishing projects.
Yeah.
Or, yeah.
Yep,
unfortunately.
I'm sorry that has to happen. And the downside is, like, people go, well, how long to fix my this? I'm like, it would be so long that you wouldn't want. It's not fair to you. So in order to be fair to our custom build customers, and in order to be fair to you, I can't do it.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Yeah. And also, Antone, I answer questions from the top to the bottom, and there's a little bit of a delay, and we start answering questions, and you asking if we're getting these over and over. I am getting them. We are asking your questions. Chill, man. Chill.
And I guess the other thing is I talk way too long for each question.
Yeah.
I should just be like, yes, no, rapid fire.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to do that.
Yes.
Sorry.
So, Fen31 wants to know, I routed out my first ever control cavity with a homemade template. Unfortunately, I was a bit gung-ho and forgot to include support columns for the screws. Should I just glue some in or redo?
It is possible to glue some in, but they rarely, if ever, work like you think they're gonna.
Yeah, I would make a slightly larger template and redo it.
Yeah.
With room for screws. Especially since it was already a homemade template. If you can make it slightly bigger.
So he's not talking about building the body and redoing the body. He's talking about
No.
redoing the template.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
I think so. Yeah, that's what I would do.
Yeah.
And I've done stuff like that before.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the way I would do it. Have you ever tried black dye with aqua coat to get a sandblasted look?
We've tried black dye and aqua coat, but we did not get a sandblasted look.
No.
You know what? I think the coolest way to get a sandblasted look is actually to media blast the wood.
That's what Fender's doing on some of their stuff. And
I've
those,
seen some Charvels that have those.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, yeah, when I say Fender.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Is Fender
all
doing?
of those.
I think isn't
Charvel's part
G&L
of it.
doing something where they like media blast the ash?
I
and
don't know. They might be.
Okay.
Yeah,
Alright.
yeah.
I think it can be a cool look.
Yep. Tim Buchanan wants to
Hey,
know,
Tim.
did they outlaw the sale of pin routers in the U.S. other than Grizzly?
No, they did not.
I think the deal is most people want a CNC, a CNC,
A CNC.
a CNC.
CNC?
And most people don't want an old school tool like a pin router. The guy from Grizzly is known to be a guitar building dude.
Yeah, he is.
And I think he probably appreciates that tool. And there's probably just enough people that want that tool that he can afford to have.
I
some.
think what he's asking is, I can't find a
Right.
jet pin router
Uh-huh.
anywhere. Why can't I find one?
Yeah.
You know, I don't know, but I have the sneaking suspicion that you and I are at the forefront of the resurgence of the pin router. Maybe.
I latched on to your charge ahead. I remember
Okay.
saying, I think we're doing pretty well with the with the plunge routers, and then we got that thing, and I went, oh yeah, no.
Yeah, the pin router is an extra special tool, and there was a time when you could get them for next to nothing because nobody wanted them anymore. And unfortunately, I've been the champion of the pin router for long enough to where I think that people go, oh, I want that now. So yeah, now I actually happen to know where there's a couple of pin routers right now. The problem is that they're all 3-phase.
Yeah.
So unless you have 3-phase power or phase converter or put a different motor on it, yeah, that won't work for most people's houses.
I actually heard the phrase "time to get another pin router" from you this week.
I would, yeah,
If there was room, we'd have one for each tool size.
Yeah.
So you never had to change a tool, or hardly ever had to change a
Every
tool.
router bit would have its own pin router.
Yep. Yep.
And I'd have to go, I have to do this. Which pin router do I go to? Sorry.
Yep. Okay. Mark Studios wants to know, would changing a 9.5 square neck to be 20-inch radius be too much? I mean, would it be taking too much wood or compromise the integrity of the neck? I don't think it would, but it might. How's that for a fence-sitting answer?
Yeah, I think it would be, boy.
Because you're taking stuff off the middle where the truss rod is, and I know the truss rod on those is a biflex,
Okay.
old school kind of.
Yeah, it
So
might.
it's sitting pretty close to the.
Boy, yeah, to go from a 9.5 to a 20.
Yeah, I want to know what the reason for doing that is.
I would think it would be easier to just get a new neck.
That's what I would do.
But how about this though? If you were like resigned yourself to, I'm gonna get a new neck. If this doesn't work, let's see if it does, and if it does, then I don't have to shell out for a new neck. I don't know. 20-inch radius. I would think it would be basically what you'd be doing is taking that neck and putting it on a belt sander and making it flat.
Yeah.
It might work.
Yep. I'm a Mystery says, hey, where's the beer?
You know, we do not drink beer during the live things. Everyone thinks that all we do.
Well, this live thing.
That's right.
The Q&A.
Yeah, we try to keep the Q&A as civil and sober as we can, because because this is a thing that this is a slightly more serious deal that we're doing, and we would like to get more sponsors like Aquacoat and Bitterroot and Guitar Wood Experts and Flipside Music, and if we're just faced, they're going to be like, well, what are you gobstoppers doing?
Yeah.
Now Sunday is like the Wild West.
Yeah. Then
It's
we'll
fun and
Yeah. All right.
I also can I stop
Yeah,
you too?
uh-huh.
I also get a lot of grief from people who are like, you should stop drinking during the live things, and I'm like, well, first of all, you should stop watching if you don't like me. But yeah, I try to I do whatever I want, and one of the things I want to do is have the live Q&A be as responsible as we can. I want it to be almost fit for PBS. Almost. Almost.
Except for the occasional swear word.
You know, I mean, because Chris, if a radio, TV, something like that said, "Hey, will you do this show for?" If a Sirius XM said, "Hey, we're doing live podcast now," which they are, would you guys do your live Q&A on Sirius? Yeah, why not?
Sure.
You know, but if it's just us getting drunk and telling dick and fart jokes,
And being stupid.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's Sunday.
Yeah, I'm not going to stop doing that. Don't worry. We're not going to stop doing Sunday. But yeah, for Thursday, we don't drink beer until after the show.
Yep. All right. Pete C wants to
All right,
know, when positioning a bridge, do you center the saddles and set them to be the scale length from the nut, or do y'all adjust them differently?
So your saddles, of course, have to be the distance from the nut to the saddles to be the scale. And generally, like I said, if you're using a tune-o-matic, you scooch the base side back about 1/8. This tool right here, Steve?
Yes.
Steve,
No, sorry, Pete.
Pete, this tool right here, this string, is one of your go-to tools for bridge layout. Get everything right, get everything set, and then put this over your saddle and where your nut goes, and pull it tight, and it'll be a perfectly straight line, and see if everything lines up, and then go to your other E and do the same. If it doesn't look right, then it's not right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I think what he's asking is where do you set your saddles in relation to on the bridge before you set it? So say you have a bridge, you're not sure exactly where it's going to mount. Where do you set your saddles on the actual bridge before you lay it out on the, say, 25.5-inch line?
I guess on a Fender style guitar, I'd set the saddle so I had a little bit of forward and a little bit of back.
Yeah,
like if
sort of
an
in the
eighth, a
middle.
quarter, whatever you got.
Yeah.
And then and then line up those saddles there, and then boom, that's right on your scale mark.
Yeah. Typically, the low E is going to be properly intonated. Is going to be just a little bit back of the whatever scale length the line it is, and the high E is going to be just a little bit in front of it.
Just a tick. Yeah.
So that 1/8 inch thing works out really well.
Yeah. And if you're doing a tune-o-matic, usually those come from the factory with the saddles all in the middle. Just like if you're doing a tune-o-matic on a Gibson scale, measure whatever the scale is, 24 3/4, boom, put it right there, and then scooch the low E back about 1/8.
Yeah,
and you'll be fine.
you kind of hedge in your bet because those barely have 1/8 of an inch back, and if you
Yeah.
get it just a little bit wrong, you could run out of adjustment.
Here's one. What
Okay.
about the wraparound bridge that we've been using, that pig nose?
So that has
pigtail thing?
quite a bit of adjustment.
Yeah.
Not only in the saddles, but also in how it mounts to the posts.
Yeah.
So you can actually angle it
That's
if you
right.
want to. So
That's
the
right,
way
because
I
unlike
do
a
it-
tune-o-matic, it doesn't go on over the post.
Yeah, as I set it. Yeah, exactly. I set it dead center on everything and go from there.
Because you don't want to scooch one of those posts back, then it looks funky, because then your bridge is cocked and the strings go.
Yeah. And so far, I haven't had to adjust where the bridge sits
Yeah.
in relation. I haven't had to cock it back, but
Yeah.
that could be a thing too. Okay,
All
good.
right.
As I answer, and then I forget to look at the next question.
It's okay.
Some
water.
Here's a good one. I got a great deal. Travis Elmore says, I got a great deal on Craigslist on a 2017 New Old Stock Grizzly fretboard sander. I put it together today. Going to try and use it tomorrow for the first time. Any advice?
Yeah. Get rid of the swinging arm apparatus as fast as you possibly can. It will work, but it's tricky to set. If you go back and watch my video on the actually, Doug, would you go grab that the arm? If you go back and watch that video that I did we had one custom made, and it wasn't like, wicked, crazy, cool custom. It was just some pieces of any machinist could do it, and they could do it easily. And in fact, Doug's bringing over what we had made. The thing to kind of keep in mind is, because it's got that long slot in the. Thank you, Doug. So this is the swinging arm apparatus that we had made, and as you can see, we have different holes here that the pivots go in, and they can only go in one way, and they're set at 7 1/4, 10, 12, 14, and 16, and you could put them wherever you wanted, but if you're going to use like an 11, if you're making a lot of Ernie balls, I need an 11. Okay, fine. So from the distance from your sandpaper to the pivot point, you need that to be, whatever that is on your necks, however you got it laid out to make. You've got, I would say having something made like this you'd be money ahead. And it's just 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces of 3/4 by 1.5 inch aluminum that's been machined to work for what we need it to work for. That would be kind of if you're gonna do something, do that. If you're not gonna do this, you could probably drill holes in the existing piece and just leave that slot go, and that would be fine too. Other than that, I would say get a couple of different grit belts and use like a 60 or 80 for lots of removal, and then get like a 150 or a 180 or something to make it nice and smooth and get rid of those big scratches. The other thing is it's got a locking twist knob. Make sure to loosen that before you go monkeying with the locking bar. Ask me how I know. And yeah, they're great tools. They just need a little bit of tweaking. There's lots of loose pieces. There's lots of wiggly aroundy pieces. We shimmed all that stuff up on ours. You don't need to, but we did. So yep. I hope that I'm giving you stuff that's actually usable.
Good. Sean Olson wants to know, and we had a similar question earlier that I was going to get to, but here it is again.
Okay.
And I'm going to paraphrase. If you cut back the tang on the frets, will you have to fill or do something with the end of the fret slot on an unbound neck?
That's a great question. You don't have to do that. You should do that. I think it just makes it look better if you do, but you don't have to.
Yep, that sounds good. Joey Peach wants to know,
Hi,
do I need nut files for the nut shaping online course, or is there more I need, and is the StuMac ones the best I can get?
Okay. The nut blank class, which is in February, is our next online class.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to send out everybody out nut blanks, but you'll need to source your own tools above and beyond that. Now, we're working on a couple of things for that. Maybe get you guys a little bit better of a deal. Is it Joe or Joey?
Joey.
Joey, I would advise you to watch the class and then source the tools. That way,
figure out what you think you're going to need, what you have, what you can get away with.
Yeah.
Because we're going to use a bunch of stuff that you don't absolutely have to have, or
and,
you could substitute something for.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about all of that stuff in the class. So that class is 2 hours long, and we're going to deep dive into tools and things that you got to have and things that are nice to have and stuff that you absolutely don't need.
Yeah.
So I think when you watch that video, we'll be able to save you some money by, look, either jump ahead to this because you're going to want it anyway, and don't waste your money on this because it's garbage.
Yeah.
I can think of 2 things off the bat that one is I would never recommend to anybody, and the other I would say, if you can swing it, get this thing.
Yeah.
And I'll give you a teaser. If you can get this thing is the dial caliper or the digital readout indicator gauge. Get that. it makes life so much easier.
Yep. Yep. Dave Weiss wants to know, what are your thoughts on Tone Pros?
Tone Pros is first of all, thank you, Dave. Tone Pros is we have talked to the guys at Tone Pros at the NAMM show, and super cool guys. They make a great product. Now they're not giving it away.
No.
Um,
I think you can be assured that the Tone Pro stuff is as good as you're going to get.
Yeah.
The threads are all really
Yep.
really solid and consistent. There's not a lot of lash on anything. Everything fits together really well. It's just really well made. So yeah, if you are of the opinion that things being mounted solidly make a big difference in sound, in tone, and I am one of those.
Okay.
Then yeah, I think Tone Pro stuff is pretty nifty.
I guess I come down on a little bit different than yeah, you can't do a whole lot better than Tone Pros.
Yeah.
But I think to do significantly worse, you have to really look for something extra sucky.
Yeah, I think so too.
You know, so like for example, the Goto Tunematic bridge that we use and recommend, I've never had any issue with. I've never had anyone that said, "Oh, I just don't get the kind of sustain and tone that I need
Yeah.
to get out of this
Yeah.
bridge."
Yeah.
And I think that if I went to a Tone Pro one, I would.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I like the guys at Tone Pros, and if someone said, "Hey, I want to use all Tone Pros hardware," cool.
Yeah.
But if it's me, I'd say no. You know what I mean? Tone Pros does not pay me to say they're good, and Goto doesn't pay me to say they're good either.
Yeah.
Well,
Aren't they the same basically?
no,
Or
the Tone Pros has that locking
well,
deal.
yeah, but I
so-
mean, but it's. I think Goto makes all the Tone Pros stuff.
Oh, I don't
And most
know,
of the
maybe.
Tone Pros stuff is just basically modified Goto.
I
I
don't
think-
know the
I
answer
don't know
to that.
either,
Somebody
but
out there
I
watching would
think
probably
maybe that's
know.
the case.
One of the things though that like the Tone Pros bridge, that we don't use a lot of Tunematic bridges.
No, we don't.
So like for our own personal guitars that our own model of guitars, we don't use that style bridge.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, if the Les Paul just doesn't have enough wowie zowie for you and you want to spend more money, Tone Pros is a great way to do it. If you want a better guitar than a Les Paul, I would say look to a Texas Toast Carved Top Challenger, coming soon, 2021.
Rad wants to know, I have a loose fret. Do I need to pull it to reglue it, or can I do it in place? I have no fret press.
Okay. I think you can do it in place if you.
I think if you had a radius block that's the right
Yeah. Yeah.
radius, you could maybe clamp it and then wick some super glue underneath it, maybe.
Yeah, that's the kind of thing where if you are 30 seconds away from making a 5-minute project either being done in 5 minutes or being a several hour project and a trip to the guitar smith.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Because if you get the glue all over everything and then
Yeah.
you don't push it down all the way, then you got glue and gop and gipe all over everything, and
Yeah.
the frets high.
Yeah. He says he has clamps.
Okay. Yeah. So I think you're okay to just go ahead and clamp it in place, and if you can see it press in and then wick glue in there, then that's what I would do.
And it's clamp it, then wick glue.
Yes.
Not glue, then clamp.
That's right.
Somebody wants to know if we build anything else besides guitars or stringed instruments. Because we build basses.
Oh, I
We're
thought you
building
meant
a
like
cool
yeah.
4-string,
Do we-
14-inch thing. No, I think he means, do we build like furniture or anything else like that?
Chris has a birthday
Violins?
coming up. I think I might build him a cake.
We're going to Build-A-Bear. Does that count? They're not going to Build-A-Bear. They're closed.
So what do you like to do when you're not doing guitar stuff?
Not
Chris?
guitars anymore.
Yeah. So what? Yeah. What do you? I don't know if that's what the person is asking, but maybe they want to know like what we do. That like,
Yeah.
hey, what kind of music do you like? What do you guys like to do with your
No, I think he wants to know if we build anything else other than guitars. Like
No.
if we build cabinets or if we build. No, we just build guitars.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we don't build any cabinets
No,
or anything.
no,
like that.
nothing else. I enjoy fixing up cars.
That's a
Actually, I
thing.
don't enjoy fixing up cars, but I've been doing that a lot. Wait a second.
Wait a second. How's your online chess game? Are you?
I can't play chess.
Okay.
Hi guys, if time isn't an issue, do you think it's possible to remove a hump, sanding it out of the fingerboard on a Gibson while saving the fret nibs without removing the
Oh.
binding?
I have done a bunch of Gibson Les Paul with binding nub fretwork, and I can tell you that the easiest way to do it is pull the binding, radius the board, and put either the old binding back on or new binding back on.
Okay.
And put nubs down.
Then that would make a good segue to our next question. What
Okay.
type of glue would you recommend for rebinding a 60s era hollow body?
Okay. What you definitely don't want to do is squirt a bunch of acetone in there like you do on new construction. So sometimes when we're binding guitars in new construction, there's no finish on them. We put the binding on and then wick acetone in there, and it melts the binding and it sticks to the wood. But the acetone gets everywhere. If you do that to a vintage guitar that's got a bunch of finish on it, that would be bad. The Stumac Bind All is not bad. And a lot of people say it's the same as Duco. It is not the same as Duco. It's similar, but it's not the same. It's really good. It's really hot. If I was rebinding a guitar with it, I wouldn't squirt it out of the tube directly onto the thing like I do with new construction. I would use a brush and just get it into where it needs to go, because any that you get on the finish will eat the finish. I guarantee
It
it.
doesn't take very much to stick
No. It's kind of like acetone gel in a
It
way,
is, yeah.
but it'll stick stuff that's not soluble in acetone too. I wouldn't use super glue. It'd be too messy. Yeah, I would. That's definitely a take your time project and do some test pieces project.
Yep. Alrighty. Red wants to know if he should use wood glue or super glue for his fret.
I would say super glue because you can clamp it and then wick the glue in. And use the thin stuff. Don't use the gel because then it won't wick in.
Yeah.
You could use wood glue, but in order to do that, you would need to pull the fret first. Now, a lot of people say wood glue for frets, that never works. I would like for them to scrape dried glue off of my scrapers and tell me how much the glue doesn't stick to the metal. Wood glue absolutely will work, but I think in this instance where you're trying to stick a fret down, I would use the CA glue.
Sounds right. We've gotten some feedback on Tone Pros and the relationship with Godo.
Okay.
And apparently Tone Pros is Godo with locking grub screw features.
Well, so I guess
So there you go.
So for if that is accurate, and I'm not saying it is or isn't, then me saying Godo is we've never had any issues with,
Yeah.
then that's kind of a
There you go.
yeah. I don't know that was a good thing for me to say or not. Just get the Godo stuff. I
Well,
like
you
it.
know, the guys at Tone Pros and or Godo or both will be, happy with that answer.
I guess
yeah,
so.
sure. Yeah. There was one more, I think, here.
What's your favorite?
Ever
okay.
fooled around with fan frets from I'm a Mystery?
I have built one guitar with fanned frets, and gosh, it was neat. And everybody who played it went, "Wow, this is neat. I didn't think I'd be able to play it, but it's no big deal to play it." And then they all went back to their regular frets and never wanted to talk about that fan fret thing again.
Yeah.
So, I don't think that fanned frets on an instrument is a sales thing. I think that it has some merit on guitars that are really big strings. You want them to be longer. You know what I mean? So if you said, I want to tune to C and then drop my low string down another full step, and I want to use I want to use a G string off a bass as where my E string on my guitar is, and go to like 13, then I think that a multi-scale instrument has a lot of merit. If you say, I think that I'm going to make I'm going to put a Gibson scale on the high E and a Fender scale on the low E and tune it E to E, and I don't think it makes any sense to do it then. Unless you're trying to go, hey, everybody, check this out. Isn't it neat? If you have a bass, though, something like 5-string, 6-string bass, then it really makes sense. If you're tuning really, really low, the longer the string is, the better. What do you think, Chris?
It doesn't really interest me.
Okay, so that's. But do you see any advantages to that setup?
No, not really. I think you could probably do all that stuff with just string gauges.
Okay.
But I don't know.
I think that there's so many people now are tuning way, way, way down.
Mm-hmm.
And if that's what you're into, then that might be the hot ticket. But yeah, you kids and your drop tunings. I love, one of my favorite bands is Fu Manchu. They tune a full step down, maybe a little more. And we monkeyed around with that and didn't have any issues with, regular. I mean, Scott Hill in Fu Manchu uses a Jag, or he used a Jag back in the day. That's 24-inch scale. So tune down a full step on a 24-inch scale guitar.
Yeah, use 13s.
I bet you that was a cuckoo slinky thing.
56 on the bottom.
Yeah.
That's not too bad.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
What did you use on your Jag for the surf band? Use 13s.
12s.
12s, okay.
Yeah. But we tuned E to E. So, yeah. But I like heavy strings on guitars.
Yeah.
So, I know. Why am I working so hard? I don't know.
Well,
okay.
I can tell you
we got time
why.
for 2 more questions.
Okay, we have time for two more.
Why do I use heavy strings?
Well, because of all the 16th notes. If they had a littler string, it wouldn't give you any meat.
There is
right?
some of that. Yeah, the string fights you a little bit,
Yeah.
and it's easier. It's actually easier to play that stuff a little faster for me.
Yeah.
Some people not. Okay, 2 more questions.
Okay. Yeah, we've gone over the hour.
Find them again. Hang on. Oh, man. I think I didn't go high enough.
Okay.
How do you finish a maple fingerboard, and what materials do you finish over the frets?
Okay. Here's how we do it. We put the finish on, which is the same finish that we use on everything else, and then we press the frets in.
We buff the fingerboard, make the fingerboard perfect, then we press the fingerboards in, or the frets in, and then we go very, very carefully.
Yep.
And this goes back to a question earlier that Tom L. had about that binding and clear finish near frets. You just have to be very, very careful when you're filing. Use a file that's not as wide as the frets, and go very carefully.
But just because that's the way we do it doesn't mean that that's the way everybody does it.
Yeah, some people spray over the frets and just let it wear off. Some people chip it off. The paint that we are currently using, one of their claims to fame is how well their clear coat sticks to things that are metal. So we don't want to clear over the frets.
And can you imagine if we sprayed Simtech Easy Sanding Sealer? We'd have to mask the frets, which we've done in the past.
That's hard too.
We've attempted all of these things with different things. So we've pressed frets in, masked frets, and then sprayed over them, and that works. We've done where we've sprayed over them and then scraped it, and that works. But we found that for us, maple fretboards, the thing that we like to do is do all the finish work and then press the frets in.
Yep. All right, last question of the night. Sassy Cat wants to know, can I roast my own maple neck?
Yes, especially if you have a great big oven. And I'm not meaning like if you have a great big wood kiln, wood oven. If you have a great big oven, you can do it. We've had a number of people that have come into the shop with home roasted necks, and it works.
Neck blanks.
Neck blanks. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh,
You-
that's
you cannot roast. I would not roast
no,
a completed neck.
no. That would be bad.
I've seen where roasting wood takes a square and turns it into
Yep.
some sort of abstract art
Weird-
piece.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it shrinks it in weird directions,
Yeah.
and that's kind of the kind of the point.
But both Jesse and Sergeant Bishop have experimented with home roasting, and it works. Now, you don't want to crank it up to 350.
Yeah, it's low and slow.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like the crock pot.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah. Otherwise, you'll just burn the wood.
And I would encourage you to be there monitoring this the whole time. I don't think this is as dangerous as frying a turkey that's frozen. You've seen those go crazy haywire in fakakta, but I think that it is possible for this to be very dangerous. So use caution. Can you do it? Yeah. Do I advise it? No, I don't. But can you? Sure.
Yeah. Several years ago, at one of the NAMM shows, Dan and Guitar Wood Experts had a giant slab of ash.
Yeah.
It was 8/4 and it was, 18 inches wide, let's say. And when they were done roasting it, it was 7/4 and it had lost a good 1/4 of an inch on
Yeah.
each side. It lost a 1/2 an inch
Yeah.
of its overall width. It was pretty interesting to look at. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's right. He had a hunk of it prior to roasting and a hunk of it.
Yeah, after they
Post
roasted it,
roast.
and then they butted it up
Yeah.
to where they cut it, and it changed it a lot.
Yeah.
So it shrinks the wood. It really does.
Yeah.
I guess it cooks the moisture and the sugars out of it.
It's more than just making it dry, which
Yeah,
it does.
uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It starts to change things on a molecular level. And if you want to ask questions about that, Dan at Guitar Wood Experts is a great resource, and he knows more. He has forgotten more about wood roasting than Chris and I will probably ever know.
Yep.
But yeah, so can you do it? Yeah. Do I advise it? I would. No, not really. Your house will smell like pancakes.
Mm-hmm.
So that's cool.
Yep. Here's a quick follow up to the finish on fretboards. Does
Okay.
the finish on the maple fingerboard fill in the fret slots?
No.
No, it doesn't.
No.
It's weird. Even when you spray a lot of sealer on it, a lot is not really that much. It doesn't go into the slots. It actually builds up near the
it's funny.
slot. Yeah,
It makes like a
yeah.
little, and then you sand it back.
And you sand it back,
yeah.
and the slot is virtually clean.
Yeah.
So
Because you figure the slot's 23 thousandths. The finish
Yeah.
isn't like
yeah,
getting in
you'd
there.
have to mash it in with a roller or a brush.
So imagine if you had a 1-inch track in a piece of wood and you sprayed it with sealer. It's not going to get every single place.
Right.
Yeah, it's going to get some of it. Now, if you shrink that down to 23 thousandths of an inch, hardly any is going to get in there. So, was there one other super chat I thought I saw at the
There
very,
were
very
several
end?
super chats. Thank you, gentlemen. From Pete C. Greg Pearl says that his pin router lives in Colorado, resides in Colorado. Scott Acom says thanks.
Thanks, guys, for all the super chats. That's very cool.
Chats. Yeah. So I think that's it. We could go on all night.
We could, and I first of all, we try to keep this to an hour every week. We usually go over
We
unless
overshot
we
it by
don't
quite a
have
bit.
questions. So thanks for joining us for the live Q&A, guys. Please support our sponsors: Aquacoat, Guitar Wood Experts, Bitterroot Guitars, and Flipside Music, the great American guitar store. Show them some love, and they will help us keep doing this every week. If you have questions that you want to send us, the best way to do it is tune in